Alrighty, brother. Hey, y'all, it's Connor over at SoapBoxGames, and today I'm coming live from my bat cave in my apartment and talking about a franchise that has a lot of relevance when pertaining to my gaming adolescence, right? My gaming upbringing. Without this franchise, I don't think I would have the perspective on video games that I would have now, because frankly, let's be honest, it changed kind of the way games were developed, and it reached a level of love and acclaim that not many franchises do. And with that said, of course, by the title, I'll be talking about Halo. More specifically, Halo Infinite and the actual factuals about what is confirmed to be in the game at launch right now. And then at the end, I'm going to give you guys a bit of my opinion and speculation about Halo's very, very rough rollout, okay? So like I said, let's jump right into it. Development for Infinite apparently started 5 or so years ago, almost immediately after Halo 5. Infinite was then announced at Xbox's E3 event in 2018, showing a pretty vague landscape. You know, here's a warthog trailer. It wasn't a cinematic. It was supposedly in-game footage, and once again, pretty vague. But the rumors at that point in time that were starting to hit the internet was that 343 was shifting away from the standard first-person shooter format, that being a campaign and obviously some multiplayer modes, and we're trying to turn Halo into a live service game a la Destiny, right? So originally Infinite was supposed to just be an Xbox One exclusive, seeing as how the game was being talked about being built from the ground up with that console specs in mind. But obviously, because of the many delays that would happen in this game's development, that would change, and currently Infinite is slated to be an Xbox One game, an Xbox S and X game, along with being a Game Pass day and date exclusive. Now, it's no real secret that the development for Halo Infinite was troubling, and that's putting it pretty kindly. I'm not going to discuss the Reddit post from possible ex-employees and possible ex-contractors for 343 right now. I'll get into that a little bit more towards the end where I start speculating. But once again, we're here for the facts. And fact number one is that multiple senior leaders and management left during Halo Infinite's development. News of higher-ups leaving the project started in about 2019 when Infinite's creative director, or was the creative director, Tim Longo, and executive producer Mary Olson announced that they would be leaving the project permanently. And at that point in time, Chris Lee, who is one of the studio heads over at 343, he's been there since 2008, would apparently be replacing them. And it was said at the time that Chris would be leading the game's overall creative vision as well as its production. But surprise, surprise, Mr. Lee would also decide to leave the project in 2020 and would then be replaced by Joe Staten, a series veteran who essentially was coming in to save the project and make sure that they would hit a release date. Now, something that I forgot to mention, but is very important, and in all honesty, it was the catalyst that sort of kicked off 343's bad PR train when pertaining to Halo Infinite, and that is the E3 2020 gameplay demo. For those of you who remember, it is the Craig incident. But for those who don't know, 343 showed a bit of the campaign on Xbox's E3 stage, and after the demo was shown, a lot of publications and of course a lot of fans expressed extreme disappointment in Infinite's graphics and performance. And when I was watching the demo again for this video, I have to say that as far as gameplay goes, it looks fine. It looks good. It looks like I'm going to have a good time. It's serviceable. But I'm not going to lie, man. The fidelity of a lot of the character models, the environments, right? You could clearly see some pop-in at some point during the demo, right? It looks pretty rough, especially considering the budget, the supposed budget for Halo Infinite, which is being rumored around $500 million. You would think that a big, huge AAA title like this would look like how other big, huge AAA titles of the same size and acclaim look, or even just look, for example, Gears of War 5, which is a big Microsoft AAA exclusive, looks years ahead of Halo Infinite, and it's just crazy how for 5 years in development with $500 million that they weren't able to make something look at least quote unquote up to date with the generation that they're trying to run this game on. But funny enough, they haven't shown any more campaigns since then, and just as of today, I believe, they have come out, they being 343, confirming that they're not going to show any more campaign footage right now, at least, because they want to ensure that Halo Infinite is as polished as possible, and that they will give fans some details or maybe a campaign demo at some point, but that point will be after the polishing phase, because they do not want anything interfering with the polishing right now. Now, some other confirmed facts that are kind of disappointing, right, and continue to make 343 look like they do not know what they're doing, is that multiplayer will be free to play, as well as them having seasons and battle passes. Another fact that has come to light as of just this week is that the XP progression in the multiplayer will be tied to in-game challenges. So to break that down, it basically means that a set amount of challenges will be given to players per day. And once you finish those challenges, any of the matches that you play after the fact, you will not earn any XP, right? Some more bad news for Halo Infinite is that co-op campaign and Forge mode, which are two beloved modes within the franchise, are not going to release with the game at launch. And finally, I guess the only bit of positive news with Halo Infinite right now is that a release date has been confirmed during Gamescom, and it looks like Infinite will release on December 8th, 2021. Now, we got all the factuals out of the way, right? The ones that you really need to know about. This next section, I'm gonna kind of lay into them. I'm kind of gonna let Microsoft have it a little bit, because frankly, Halo is a series where you cannot fuck it up, and it's just seeming like they kind of are gonna fuck it up. But with that said, let's just kind of get into the speculation, and I'll first talk about the campaign. And the reason why I want to focus on the campaign at this point right now is because that is primarily why I play Halo games. Like, I like the multiplayer. I've never been a big Halo multiplayer guy. It's pretty fun. It's like arcadey shooter, and I really like that. But I play Halo for the story. I play Halo for the campaign. I know that I am probably in the minority with that, but I like their space opera universe. I really love Master Chief. I like that they sort of officially have, kind of made him a character with these 343 games. Like, that's probably one of the few redeeming qualities of the 343 trilogy, right? That I like. But with that said, it's weird that you guys don't even want to put out any more details on it, which is a huge red flag to me. Like, I get it. In 2020, you guys got shit on for your E3 demo. I get it. It was rough. Like, come on. Even you guys would have to admit that it was pretty rough. But like I said, the gameplay looks solid. So I wasn't completely down on it. It was just like, okay, like, it's not going to be a looker, right? It's mainly going to focus on the gameplay. Gameplay's king, right? But it's been a year now, and you guys haven't even shown anything else. Like, Gamescom has literally been this past week, right? The Jeff Keighley thing, you guys showed up to 343, and you didn't think it was a good idea to show more campaign, right? You put out this bullshit PR statement that, oh, we're focusing on the polishing stage. Like, sure, whatever. I take that as a crock of shit. Like, and I understand that, like, E3 demos and these big showcase demos, to build, to make like a vertical slice build takes away a lot of time and resources from the actual game. So, like, whatever, sure, but it's just weird, man. And the Reddit posts don't help either. Take it with a grain of salt. The most popular one that has sort of went viral is that a Redditor who is supposedly an X343 employee gave his description of his time at the company, and for the most part, he wasn't shitting on them. He wasn't calling them horrible. He wasn't saying that they're so awful. But he basically broke it down in that the multiplayer they had right from jump, but the campaign portion is what they were still very much trying to figure out, and seemingly still very much trying to figure out, right? He said that, they were trying to harken back to sort of the big open sandbox levels of Halo Combat Evolved, where you could essentially approach a group of enemies, a mission in any way that you would want to, and that a ton of content had actually been cut from Halo Infinite's campaign to sort of fit within this structure that they were trying to go with. So ultimately, his sort of message that he was trying to get across is that it doesn't seem like the campaign is going to be something that a lot of people are going to be satisfied with. And with that said, that is not good to hear because this is supposed to be Microsoft's big home run. This is supposed to be one of the many reasons that help people decide if they want to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation at this point, right? Your whole Xbox presentation this year was that, hey, we have arrived. The Series X is going to deliver games unlike the Xbox One, and you guys are really going to like what we have in store. We have 23 studios, Halo's coming, it's going to be sick, but that's nice to hear. It's great to hear that you guys are finally acquiring studios. You're bringing some of your old franchises back, like Perfect Dark, making them these big AAA exclusives, right? That's fantastic. That's great. I want Xbox to win. I want them to compete with Sony because that makes for better games, and it ultimately serves as a positive for gamers, right? I want a reason to buy that big dumb looking PC tower called the Xbox Series X. I want to, I really do, but this rollout is not it. I don't know, and it's crazy to me because Xbox marketing for the past couple of years has been able to turn around what was once thought as a sinking ship, with guys like Aaron Greenberg and them sort of participating in this like guerrilla marketing. It was really impressive to watch. It was really cool to see. Game Pass really helped boost the appeal of Microsoft and Xbox as a whole. But how come you can't get your flagship franchise back into positive light? Like you had a little bit with the multiplayer beta. Like people seem to really love the multiplayer, and I'm not really going to speak too much on it because there's other more knowledgeable content creators out there who can speak a lot more in depth of the ins and outs of Halo's multiplayer. But I really liked it. It looked fun. Along with everyone else, it seemed like the general impressions of some of the modes is that it's really positive. It feels really good. It feels like the best version of Halo possible. So you're able to do that, but you guys can't make up the ground that you lost with sort of showing the campaign. You guys can't put together whatever footage that you have right now. You don't even have to put together a vertical slice. Just put together a sizzle reel showing, hey, this is kind of the stuff you're going to be doing. We're literally just going to record off this PC and show a mission. You guys can't even do that. So it's weird. Yeah, and people are going to shit on you for it because, frankly, it's a bit inexcusable, guys. And any hardcore Xbox personality out there right now, which if you're on gaming Twitter, it's arguably the worst. Them and hardcore Sony ponies, they are the worst Twitter personalities on the planet because their entire personality is caught up in a corporate brand that does not care about them. And specifically right now with all of this Halo news in the zeitgeist, all of these Xbox personalities are really pushing it hard. It's like, well, Sony doesn't have anything coming. We have a campaign and multiplayer coming. So what about co-op? So what about Forge? Halo. Like, shut up, man. Like, you guys need to address the problems with your brand. You can prefer a brand, you can love a brand, you could even be biased. But when you do not acknowledge the problems and flaws that you would happily point out if it was another brand, that's troublesome. Maybe you guys need to really sort of, check your stock and figure out what you're doing with your life. Because you are leading some of the people who follow you down a path of destruction to the point where they just shit on anything that isn't Microsoft. And you're seeing it right now with Halo. There are certain Xbox people on Halo who are calling this stuff out, who are saying that, yeah, it's really weird they're not showing the campaign. Yeah, it's really weird that co-op isn't going to be in there, that Forge isn't going to be in there, and are getting completely bombarded by hate from other Xbox people because they're calling out the flaws. But yet they would do that to a Sony game without hesitation. I don't know. Like, I understand having favor towards a brand. I like DC Comics over Marvel Comics because I like the characters more, right? I like Sony over Xbox, at least right now, because I like their games more. And I understand if you're an Xbox player and that's all you've ever known, you're probably gonna like it. You're like, yeah, we got Game Pass, we got Halo, we got some good things going. I understand that. But when you participate in this sort of level of ignorance, it does not help the brand that you love so much figure out what they're doing wrong. Instead, it does the complete opposite. When you sort of come in on Twitter or YouTube or whatever platform to sort of be an Xbox apologist, right? Or a Sony apologist or a Nintendo apologist, you're letting those companies know that it's okay that they can get away with this shit. And it's not okay. It's not okay just because you love Xbox, you love Nintendo, you love Sony, that you let shit slide that you wouldn't let for other brands. It's just weird to me. You guys are weirdos when you do that. I thought the whole point of like, well, maybe this was just like my idealistic version that was in my head when I first got to gaming Twitter. I was like, man, everyone's going to be like, oh, they're really, like the Sony pony and the Xbox, it can't be that widespread. It's huge. The console war shit is huge. And you have a ton of people on the Xbox side not caring. It's just, why? Why don't you guys care? Like I said, if you have a personal stake invested in it, sure, but don't be a shill. Don't go in there bootlicking Microsoft saying, please, Uncle Philly, give me all the Microsoft shit. I don't care if it's bad or not. Just give it to me. Give it to me. And for example, like I said, my preference right now with consoles is my PlayStation 5 because that's where the majority of my collection of digital games is. Plus, that's just how I like to play. They have games that appeal more to me as a player, but I will be the first person to call out Sony on its bullshit. Sony this entire generation has had issues, right? The SSD stuff was an issue. Now they've addressed that, thank God. Some people take up issue with sort of the director's cuts, remasters shit. I don't think that is that big of a deal. My main issue is when Sony does not communicate with their fan base, leaving us waiting months and months and months for new information. But to get kind of back on point, I'm not trying to prove to you guys that, oh, he's unbiased. Everyone has a bias. It's if you can actually sit down and critique what you have a bias on that matters. And frankly, it's disappointing seeing that a ton of Xbox fans are just brushing stuff under the rug. But with that said, I kind of want to pivot into an aspect of Halo Infinite nobody is really talking about at the moment, and that is, it's a live service game. Now, I know what you're saying there. You're sitting there in your home and you're saying, oh my God, Connor, Halo's going live service. The world's ending. Yes, sir. I know. Calm down. It's awful. But some of the details have been put out there for what the live service aspect of Halo is going to entail. The first and probably the most major aspect is that it is going free to play in terms of the multiplayer, right? Which that's a good decision because Destiny, Fortnite, any of the real huge big live service games are free to play because it allows you to reach a larger general audience than you would if those people had to pay for it. I think with the only real exception being Final Fantasy XIV at this point, but that's kind of a unicorn unto itself. Battle passes have also been announced, and they're going to differ from how battle passes are typically done. For example, in Destiny, you have a certain amount of time, typically to the end of the season, usually to the end of the season, where you have all that time to unlock the entire battle pass. And if you don't unlock everything, let's say the season ends and you still had about 10 levels to unlock, you don't get any of those rewards, right? That's gone forever. You can't ever go back to the battle pass even though that you purchased it. Halo's doing the opposite, whereas if you purchase a battle pass in whatever season it is, you'll always have the ability and option to go back to that battle pass to earn the said so rewards that are associated with it. Now, would it be a live service game without them introducing seasons into their content model? And that's exactly what Halo Infinite is doing. It's interesting to say the very least. It's sort of a standard idea that they're handing out there to fans to describe what their seasons would be. Each season is going to be about 3 months roughly, introducing new game modes, new player progression options, new player customization options, right? So on and so forth. Sort of the standard season understanding when it comes to live service in particular. Now, another quote that's kind of been going, that's probably the least interesting part. Yeah, like you're introducing seasons into your live service game. Whoop-de-fucking-do. The part that's interesting is a quote that came from one of their designers, Christopher Blum. I hope I'm saying that right, where he essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing his quote, where he doesn't want players to play Halo Infinite's sort of live service aspect 24/7 like how a lot of people do with Destiny or Final Fantasy, right? He wants you guys to get your fill and then come back when you're ready. And that's a sentiment that has sort of been stated before by some live service devs. And I don't understand why you would exactly say that, seeing as that live service games, at least in the modern era now, live and die by how many people are playing their game and also partaking in their microtransactions. Like, you know, Destiny, Fortnite, they do crazy numbers. You know, I think the sort of most recent number on Steam for Destiny was like 170,000 concurrent players, right? And those people are obviously partaking in the content that you have, but probably also buying some of your cosmetics. I know the fuck I am when I'm playing Destiny, so it's weird. It's interesting. Maybe they're taking a bit more of a lackadaisical, casual approach with their live service stuff, or maybe they're coming at it from people who have played a ton of this the live service content that's out there, and maybe they want to try something different and do something different. Overall, this is like a shrug moment, like, we'll have to see. Frankly, I'm interested in a lot of their live service stuff. I'm interested to see if Halo can make good on that, but frankly, we'll just have to wait and watch. In closing, I kind of want this to be my final thoughts about Halo Infinite. I don't want to talk about this game until it comes out, and I'm just going to kind of keep this very brief, very short. I am interested in this game. I want this game to succeed. I want this game to be good. However, there are some things that I find extremely unacceptable. I think the sort of dead silence on the campaign aspect of Halo Infinite is bullshit. And I think 343 does need to get called out on that. And I think there do need to be more Xbox-centric fans out there calling for 343 to be like, hey, like, we understand that the first time that you guys showed it didn't end up very well, but like, you can't even give us like sort of like a press briefing or something about the campaign, a little more detail into what we'll actually be doing on this supposed quote unquote open world Halo Ring game. Like, you can't even give us that. I just think that's bullshit. The multiplayer, however, looks super solid, and maybe, you know, God forbid if the campaign stuff doesn't really pan out in my favor, I can maybe find some solace in that. Hey, this is a really solid multiplayer live service experience, and, you know, maybe 343 will be the first to sort of come out the gate with a live service game being like, yeah, it's super solid, but I doubt that. I bet there's going to be some bumps in the road. I bet there's going to be some servers crashing day 1, day 2, you know. I bet there's probably going to be some issues, but I think for the most part, I think this will be a solid Halo experience. I just don't know if it's going to be what was promised. And with that said, I'm going to kind of close this video out. Thank you if you've been listening to a grown man in his apartment ramble about a video game for about 20 minutes. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Please comment if you could. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback and hear the pros and cons of this video so you can help me grow and sort of figure out what my style is going to be and things like that. So with that said, have a good day and stay groovy, y'all.